Hello and welcome back to our Lord of the Rings LCG solo progression series. And today's quest is the nightmare version of Dungeons Deep and Caverns Dim, which was the third and final scenario in the On the Doorstep Deluxe expansion, and the third out of 6 total scenarios in the Hobbit Saga. A quick reminder, in this series we're playing through each quest in chronological order of the game's initial release, and we'll only be using player cards that were available at the time of this quest's release. I'm calling this deck Furious Bear, the original deck from Dungeons Deep and Caverns Dim for the original quest. I called that Curious Bear. That was the first time we ever used Beorn, if I remember correctly. And so this one, with this being the nightmare version of this quest, just decided to call it Furious Bear. Now this deck is pretty much a carbon copy of the original. There's a few cards that are different. One thing that we changed is previously Beorn the only thing we could use his resources for were 3 copies of Resourceful, but I have included some tactics cards here. Knights of the Swan, a new card, Westfold Outrider. And the reason why is because we need 2 Khas Rohan allies, and we can just do something with Beorn's resources this way. Also Feint and Wizard's Voice. But otherwise, it's the same hero lineup and relatively the same deck, just with just some adjustment for the fact that this is the Nightmare quest. Well, let's get to the quest and see how we do. We'll look at our opening hand, and I don't like it. I would like to see Light of Valinor or Imladris Stargazer or Stand and Fight or even Dwarven Tomb. Ithir Swordsman's not bad, but let's just go ahead and mulligan. And this is what we'll have to work with. So here's the Nightmare setup card. We have to remove the following cards in the following quantities and shuffle in the Nightmare cards. Dungeons Deep and Caverns Dim says you are playing Nightmare mode. Gollum cannot take damage. And for the setup, we search the encounter deck for the lower gate and set it aside out of play. Here it is. And it says forced when stage 3B is revealed, add the lower gate to the staging area. So this will interplay later. All right, out of the frying pan. After killing the Great Goblin, Bilbo's companions fought to win their escape from the goblins. By the time they realized that Bilbo had been lost in the darkness, it was too late to turn back and search for him. For setup, we will add Lake in the Cavern to the staging area. Here's Lake in the Cavern. X threat. X is twice the number of players in the game. So 2 threat. We cannot travel here, and this is immune to player card effects. But it'll leave the staging area when we advance to stage 3. Forced. After players advance to stage 3, remove Lake in the Cavern from the game. All right, now we create a riddle area with stage 2A and follow the setup instructions on that card. So the rules insert really kind of clarifies what all this means, but basically what we do is we bring from the quest deck stage 2A into play. And, there have been a few quests like Battle of 5 Armies where this has been true. There's multiple quest cards in play, but this is a little different. We've got a quest area. So you have the staging area and, the play area for all the players if you're playing 4-player, and the current quest is 1A. And then separately, you have Riddles in the Dark, 2A. Let's look at this. During the confusion, Bilbo stumbled down a tunnel into Gollum's cave. There, the hobbit had to outwit the creature Gollum in a dangerous riddle contest to discover the way out. For setup, we search the encounter deck for Gollum and Bilbo's magic ring. We place Gollum and Bilbo Baggins in the riddle area and attach Bilbo's magic ring to Bilbo. So here's Bilbo, of course, and Bilbo's magic ring is an objective from this quest. He comes down here to the riddle area, as does Gollum. And let's flip this card over and look at it. 2B, 9 progress needed to advance. It says we cannot advance to stage 3 unless both stage 1 and 2 are complete. And so we'll have to complete simultaneously stage 1 and stage 2. This one, progress tokens cannot be added to or removed from this quest except by answering riddles. And when we get to it, we'll kind of understand riddles a little bit better. But cards in the riddle area are immune to player card effects and cannot leave the riddle area except by quest card effects. So the reality is Bilbo, The first player gains control of Bilbo Baggins, so he's not going to be part of the hero lineup for the first player, but he will move around the table, and wherever the first player token is, the riddle area is the responsibility of the first player token. The riddle area will consist of riddles in the dark, Bilbo with his ring, and Gollum. And we'll look at Gollum and all this in a minute a little bit more, but you can't use feint on Gollum. You can't do anything to help Bilbo. He is out here on his own, facing off with Gollum in a game of riddles. Okay, so this 1B, which represents the Thorin and company escaping from Goblin Town. We have to make 14 progress. Players cannot advance to stage 3 unless both 1 and 2 are complete. So we have to do our regular thing here and then solve riddles here. Forced, reveal 1 additional encounter card per player during the staging step. So during staging, we'll have to reveal 2 cards, but because of riddles, we won't be overwhelmed. So let's go ahead and go to the resource phase. And what we're going to do here is try to get a couple of allies out, I think. Let's go ahead and play Envoy of Pelargir. Response after Envoy of Pelargir enters play, add 1 resource to a Gondor or Noble Heroes resource pool. We'll put that on Glorfindel's Noble, and then we'll play Aether Swordsman. Each Outlands character you control gets +1 willpower. Okay, so when we're ready to quest here, there is an enemy that can come out that has a combined health and defense of 9. So what I'm going to do is just quest with Aether Swordsman and with Frodo. And then, if that enemy came out, we'd be able to attack for 5, 3, and 9. Okay, so we reveal 2 cards during staging per this forced effect. 1 additional encounter card per player. And the first card is going to be Where Is It? And it has a when revealed and a riddle. So some of the cards in this is very specific to this quest, to Dungeons Deep and Caverns Dim, have at the bottom there you see riddle. Now that's not a shadow effect. Look, let me show you real quick just what a shadow effect looks like. Sometimes we don't really look too closely at things, but here's a shadow effect. See the line there with the skull? That indicates the text underneath it, and it even says shadow. This does not say shadow, it says riddle. So when a card comes out that has riddle, we have a choice. We either reveal it and add it to staging like any regular card, or we can kind of move it down here and do the riddle. So this is where we keep from getting overwhelmed. We can basically force these cards to the riddle area. So let's do that here. It says riddle. And the when revealed, I won't even worry about reading that at this point. We just definitely want to do the riddle rather than dealing with something in staging. And this is not the hardest of the riddles. The riddle says the first player names a sphere, a cost, and a card type. So I'm going to say spirit, 2 cost, and ally. Then I'm going to shuffle my deck and I'm going to discard the top 3 cards of my deck. For each card that matches all 3 items, place 1 progress on stage 2. So let me just show you how the deck's constructed. You can see that most of the cards are spirit. There's 37 versus 10 and 3 neutral. And then you'll see the cost curve, 0 cost, 1 cost, and 2. So most of the cards are 2 cost. And then card types, you can see most of them are allies. 28 spirit allies in this deck out of 50 cards. So I'm going to say the most likely scenario is when we discard 3 cards that it's going to be a spirit 2 cost ally. So I built my deck in this manner. So let's shuffle the deck. That's part of the riddle. And then we have to discard the top 3, and we're looking for matches. 2 cost spirit allies. So 1, 2, and 3. And so we actually had 2 matches. We had 2 Rittermark's Finest discarded right there in a row. So that's 2 cards out of the 3 that matched the name sphere, cost, and card type. It had to match all 3. And so for each card that matches all 3 items, place 1 progress on stage 2. So we're at 2. And then, so we've successfully passed riddle. Now, if we did not, then Gollum would attack us forced after the first player answers a riddle and fails to find at least 1 match. Gollum attacks Bilbo Baggins, and he says do not deal a shadow card, so he attacks for 2. And Bilbo, of course, would exhaust to defend, so 1 point of damage would be placed on Bilbo. And of course, if he gets 3 damage, he leaves play. So it's kind of one of those 3 strikes and you're out. Now there is an action here on his ring that we can use if we want to, but for now, we didn't have to do that. And hopefully somewhere along the way we'll be able to use his action just to demonstrate what that is. Okay, again, where is it? Same card. And so again, we'll do the riddle rather than revealing it. If we were to reveal it, we would have to discard 2 resources from Bilbo Baggins, or Gollum would make an immediate attack. Well, we don't want that. So we're going to have to shuffle our deck and discard 3 cards. We're going to say 2 cost Spirit Allies. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so we had 2 matches. And all 3 of our Rittermark's Finest are discarded at this point. All right, so we made a total of 4 progress on stage 2B, and we were successful in the quest up here on 1B, and so we made 2 progress, and that's it for the round. We will refresh and move on to round 2. Let's go ahead and put into play a West Road Traveler. And it's good that we have a feint in our hand and ready in case one of the bigger enemies comes out. Let's quest with Frodo and with West Road Traveler and with Ithir Swordsman. I'm going to keep these cards ready though, the 9 attack. Okay, during staging we reveal an additional card per player, so 2 cards revealed. The first one is another riddle. When revealed, this is what's in my pocket. When revealed, the first player must choose and answer the riddle on this card. So I couldn't, I wouldn't be able to do it in staging. So the riddle says first player names a sphere and cost, shuffles his deck, then discards the top 2. For each of those cards that matches both items, place 1 progress. So we're going to shuffle the deck. We're going to say Spirit, 2 cost, 2 cards, 1, 2. We had 2 matches. We're doing really well down here on 2B. Better than usual. All right, and another card is going to be the Warg's Glade. Even though we're really kind of crushing stage 2, I don't want to put this into play unnecessarily. The first player names a sphere, shuffles his deck, and discards the top card. For each of those cards that matches, place 1 progress token on stage 2. So this might be a case where I want to just put this in staging. Force, after a character takes damage from an attack made by a creature enemy, remove 1 progress from the current quest. We'll just let that come out because we're definitely advancing pretty quickly through the riddle piece. And this makes us discard 1. There's a good chance I'd have to use Bilbo's action and use up his resources, so let's just leave that in staging. We made 2 progress. We'll travel here during travel phase, and we'll refresh and move on to round 3. Okay, very good. You always love seeing with this deck stand and fight because we can grab out of our discard pile something like Imladris Stargazer or Ithir Swordsman. Let's grab the Ithir Swordsman because this will be quite a bit of willpower when we do that. So we're going to play stand and fight. Action, choose an ally with a printed cost of X in any player's discard pile. Put that ally into play under your control. So we are going to play Ithir Swordsman. And each Outlands character you control gets +1 willpower, so they're a total of 6 willpower between the 2. Hanging on to Beorn's resources, obviously. And let's quest. And we reveal 2 cards, 1 additional one during staging. And the first one is He or We Hates It. When revealed, attach We Hates It to Gollum. This will count as a condition attachment with the text. If the players are on stage 3, Gollum gets +2 attack. So the riddle is kind of tough. The first player names a trait. We would say Rohan with our deck. We'd shuffle the deck, discard the top card, only the top card, for each card that has at least 1 matching trait. Place 1 progress on stage 2. This one's easy to fail. So I'm going to let the first copy, I always just attach it to Gollum because that means on stage 3, only on stage 3, he'd be attacking for an additional 2. So I'm going to go ahead and boost him. It's not the end of the world. A second one, we would make ourselves solve the riddle, and hopefully, if the second one comes out, we've built up resources on Bilbo such that we could use his action a few times. We'll look at the action in a moment. Okay, so this surges into. We let that. This was added to staging. It was immediately attached to Gollum. And then Goblin Driver says, when revealed, the first player exhausts one character he controls. Will exhaust Envoy of Pelargir. And we made 5 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And here comes Goblin Driver. We'll optionally engage him. He's going to attack for 2. We'll defend with Beorn. Beorn does not exhaust to defend, so 2 against 1. I'm not going to waste my feint on this guy. Defending player exhausts one character he controls. That's why we leave Envoy of Pelargir ready. Because, we had to exhaust her to this effect, and there are shadows that do this, but 2 against 1 means 1 damage on Beorn, and Beorn attacks for 5 and destroys Goblin Driver. Very good. Things are going well. Refresh next round. Let's go ahead and play Envoy of Pelargir. When she enters play, after she enters play, add a resource to a Gondor or Noble Hero's resource pool. We'll put that on Glorfindel. Just a good way to move resources off of Beorn onto our spirit heroes. And we'll play Westroad Traveler. And we'll quest for a pretty good amount now. So questing. Do I quest with Frodo? I think so. We'll leave both envoys ready. And we'll quest with Frodo. We reveal 2 cards. And the first one is the Warg's Glade. First player names a sphere, shuffles the deck, discards the top card. And so it has to match the sphere. We want to go ahead and make progress on the riddle. So let's do this. Let's do the riddle. Because we have a lot of resources on Bilbo now. So we'll name a sphere. It's going to be Spirit. Let's shuffle the deck. We discard a card. And it is Spirit. It is Stand and Fight. And so we made a progress on stage 2. And then Wicked Wolf. All right, this is one of the harder enemies. This is why we have Feint. All right, we made 6 progress. During the encounter phase, let's just optionally engage Wicked Wolf. We don't want to leave it in staging. So he attacks for 4. It says force. If Wicked Wolf is dealt a shadow card with a riddle, the defending player must exhaust a character he controls. At this point, it's worth definitely playing Feint, canceling that attack. And let's see what the shadow was. Well, it did have a riddle, so we would have had to exhaust Envoy of Pelargir. Not too big a price, but mostly at this point, we're just trying to keep our threat low. We don't want to use Frodo's response unnecessarily. So we need to attack for 8. Beorn and Glorfindel have that. We'll just destroy Wicked Wolf. Refresh. Pretty uneventful so far. Next round. Okay, very good. We have Stand and Fight. Let's see if we have Imladris Stargazer somehow in our discard pile. We don't. Nothing I really want to play Stand and Fight for. I'd want to save Stand and Fight for a 3rd Aether Swordsman, or even Knights of the Swan would be good, or Imladris Stargazer. So for now, I'm just going to keep Stand and Fight in my hand. And let's go ahead and put a Wandering Took into play. And we'll quest. And I'm not going to send Frodo on the quest because we might advance here. There's a chance. So we reveal 2 cards. First one is Goblin Runners. He's going to Surge. And then here's another one that doesn't have, there's no riddle here, so we have to deal with Lower Gate Sentries. And here's a riddle card. The Win Reveal says, starting with the first player, each player must search the encounter deck and encounter discard pile for 1 creature enemy and put it into play, engage with him. Let's just go ahead and do the riddle. Riddle, the first player names a card type and cost, shuffles his deck, and discards the top 3 cards. So we're going to say ally. We have a good chance of moving on this round. We'll see, but I think we're about to. Card type will be ally, cost will be 2. We'll shuffle our deck and discard 3. So 1, 2, 3. Just 1 match. Okay, so we're 1 away from Riddles in the Dark. So there's an action here. When answering a riddle, spend one Baggins resource to discard an additional player card from the top of your deck. So I could keep going and make progress, but I really think I'd rather not. I'd rather deal with these enemies before we advance, so I'm not going to do that. I could, do this action. When answering a riddle, spend one. There's an action window after discarding the 3. Then you can take this action. You can't use actions in your player deck or with your player cards, but Bilbo's Magic Ring has an action where we can spend one of his resources discarding one card, another. We could do 5 extra cards, for instance. So you can make progress by using his action once you've built up his resources. But again, I just want to wait for just a little bit. So we are 1 away from having the necessary progress on Riddles in the Dark. And we made 6 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've made all the progress we need to advance other than this 1 progress on Riddles in the Dark. So we don't even have to really quest next round. We can leave a lot of our characters ready. We could be ready for combat that way. Okay, during travel phase, nowhere to go. During the encounter phase, we'll have 2 enemies engaging us during the engagement checks. Both of them attacking for 3. Let's defend one of the attacks with Frodo. 3 attack. Let's do lower gate sentries. So 3 against 2. And no shadow effect. So we'll just put the damage on Frodo. And then we'll just take this undefended rather than defending with Beorn. Our threat's pretty low. We're not really worried about threats. So 3 undefended. And so that's going to be... We could put it on Glorfindel, but let's just put it on Frodo and use his response. 1, 2, 3. He raises our threat in response to that damage, canceling the damage. Okay, so we need to attack lower gate sentries for sure. This is that 9 health and defense enemy. So 5, 8, and 9, and we destroyed it. It's just harder to break through against that enemy than this Goblin Runner. So we'll leave Goblin Runners engage with us. Discard the shadow, refresh, and move on to the next round. Okay, since we have a stand and fight, let's just keep looking in our deck and just make sure. We could play Knights of the Swan. Knights of the Swan would be a good card to fish out of our discard pile because it would give Aether Swordsman more attack. It would also be questing for 2 because of Aether Swordsman. That's probably better than grabbing, Westroad Traveler. But at this point, we can always do that later. You can do this action at any point, so we don't need to at this point. So we'll leave things be for now. But let's go ahead and play Wandering Took. And we just need to make sure we quest so that our threat doesn't go up, but we don't have to really advance or anything. So we'll just quest with the Westroad Travelers. We're not really worried about our threat. We reveal 2 cards. The first one's going to be Wild Wargs. And this says reveal 1 additional card per player during the staging step. Okay, so this says force. If Wild Wargs is dealt a shadow card with a riddle, it gets +2 attack. But we're going to do the riddle. Riddle. The first player names a card type, shuffles his deck, and discards the top 2 cards. So we're going to say type. So one thing that's interesting, I've never had this happen to me, I don't think. So we're about to make the necessary progress to clear Riddles in the Dark. As soon as we do, we're going to advance, but there's still another card being revealed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to purposely fail this riddle. Name a card type. Let me look at my deck. I'm going to say attachment. And we discard the top 2. So shuffle the deck, discard the top 2. 1, 2. No attachment. And so we were unsuccessful. And so Gollum's going to attack us. Force. After the first player answers a riddle and fails to find at least 1 match, Gollum attacks Bilbo Baggins. Do not deal it a shadow card. So we'll defend with Bilbo, and he's damaged for 1. Now I could have used his action. I could have intentionally, if I had said ally, I would have been fine. But I just did not want to advance and then this card come out while we were in stage 3. So the second card revealed during staging, now we will pass this riddle, no problem. Okay, so the first player names a card type, shuffles his deck, and discards the top 2 cards. The card type is going to be ally. 2 cards. 1, 2. There's an ally. And that was enough to clear riddles in the dark. So we've done that. We've made 9 progress here, and, 17 here. Players cannot advance to stage 3 unless both 1B and 2B are complete. They are. So let's get rid of 1B and 2B. So we're at stage 3, into the fire. Now this card here says when after players advance to stage 3, remove Lake in the Cavern from the game. So we'll delete that card. It's gone. Into the Fire says, to everyone's surprise, Bilbo Baggins rejoined his companions on the eastern side of the Misty Mountains. However, their celebration was cut short by the chilling sound of wolves howling close by. To the frightened hobbit, it seemed that they had escaped from the goblins only to be eaten by the wargs. All right, so a few things happen. First of all, before we do the win reveal, let's just read the passive stuff, because passive always beats win revealed. Gollum engages the first player. So we are the first player. Here he comes. And now we're at stage 3, so he is getting that +2 boost. He attacks for 4 each time he attacks. Damage from undefended attacks made by Gollum must be placed on Bilbo Baggins. So we're going to usually leave Frodo ready to defend, or even we could even chump or something if needed, but we do not want Gollum attacking and us being undefended, because if it's undefended, Bilbo is going to be destroyed. And so, of course, Bilbo Baggins comes to our play area. He is going to travel follow the first player token. So here he is as a 4th hero in our lineup. Oh yeah, there it is. I was thinking, where does it say Bilbo? It's part of the win revealed. So Gollum engages first player, and that's true. If I played like Light in the Dark, he'd immediately come back, just right away. What was the quest that I just played where it was like Gollum, and I mentioned it in a playthrough? I forget. It was something in the Dunlin Trap. I forget exactly, but we've seen that a second time somewhere along the way. Okay, so damage from undefended attacks by Gollum must be placed on Bilbo. All riddle effects are ignored. So moving forward, any riddles, you can't say, I'll choose to do a riddle. It's just regular old staging, and so anything that says riddle, we just ignore. But to help make up for that, treacheries are going to gain surge. So if we get a riddle card like we wants it, we don't get a free pass. We would just ignore the riddle part of it. We'd have to do any win revealed, but then any treacheries will surge. So it says win reveal, the first player gains control of Bilbo Baggins. Reveal 1 encounter card per player and add it to the staging area. Also, it should be that lower forced effects always beat when revealed. So when stage 3B is revealed, add the lower gate to the staging area. So here it is. Creature enemies are going to get +1 attack. Goblin enemies get +1 defense. So we'll put that defense on Goblin Runner. So now we do the when revealed. Bilbo comes up. We reveal 1 encounter card per player and add it to the staging area. A card is hiding in the trees. Not a bad thing, because it says when revealed, characters get -1 willpower and cannot attack until the end of the round. So no attacking Goblin Runners. Now this is going to surge because all treacheries surge in stage 3. And then it is Fallen Stones, which we don't mind seeing because we've got plenty of resources on Bilbo now. We couldn't do the riddle if we wanted to. This is a hard riddle because it's card title specific. We never saw this during stage 1/2, so we got a little bit lucky there. Because that's the 1 card revealed. Well, we revealed 2 cards, but, we're done with that part of the win revealed. And so now during travel, we're going to travel to... this says no more than 4 progress can be placed on the current quest each round, so let's travel to Lower Gate first. We'll leave Fallen Stones in staging for now. All right, so now we have to do combat, and we have Gollum attacking for 4 because of We Hates It. So we're going to defend with Frodo against Gollum, 4 against 2. And there's no shadow effect, so 2 damage on Frodo, which we will convert to threat using his response. Remember that Gollum's, any damage from undefended attacks made by Gollum must be placed on Bilbo. Okay, Goblin Runners, rather than, let's defend with Beorn, 3 against 1. Beorn's not exhausting. Attacking enemy gets +1, +3 instead if Bilbo's magic ring is exhausted. It's not. So this is going to be 3 and 4. So he's attacking for 4, 3 damage on Beorn. And we cannot attack because of this card. This says characters cannot attack until the end of the round. So we're not able to attack back, unfortunately. We'll discard shadows at the end of combat, refresh, and move on to the next round. Now we have our stand and fight. Let me look in my discard pile. I think I might have... So I don't have Aether Swordsman. You know, I just don't know that I'm ready yet to play stand and fight to bring into play a Knights of the Swan. I don't think I'm going to do that yet. Let's go ahead and put into play a Westfold Horse Breeder. We'll put her down here. And then also, just to get some good willpower, let's do a Escort from Edoras. That'll help us to get past Lower Gate and make some good progress this round. Okay, so we're going to leave Frodo ready for Gollum. And I've never had a lot of Valinor so far. It's kind of a bummer. I mean, this is why I really love getting Imladra Stargazer. She would help us a lot if we had her, but we just don't. Okay, so let's quest with Escort from Edoras, and it says while committed to a quest, Escort from Edoras gets +2 willpower. And let's quest here and here, just doing as much as we can, really. We'll even quest with Bilbo. We just want to make sure we clear the Lower Gate. We're going to leave her ready for chumping and or exhausting purposes. So I feel comfortable with leaving these characters ready. We reveal 1 card, and it is Where Is It? It says when revealed, discard 2 resources from Bilbo Baggins' resource pool, or Gollum makes an immediate attack against Bilbo Baggins. That would kill us at this point in the game, so that's one reason why you want to have resources on Bilbo. We'll pay the 2 resources. Discard 2 resources, I should say. All right, so he didn't attack us. If he did, we would have died. We would have lost the game there. So you want to think sometimes about this action on the bottom. Exhaust Bilbo's magic ring and raise each player's threat by 2 to add resources to Bilbo. Now that was a treachery, so it's going to surge into Pine Slopes. There's a force effect here. Each time a Baggins resource is spent or discarded, raise each player's threat by 1. We made 10 progress, so 2 on the current quest. This leaves play. And so no more boost to creatures or goblins. And so that boost is gone. And during travel, we can either travel here to Fallen Stones or we can travel to Pine Slopes. Let's travel to Pine Slopes. Because if we discard resources to travel to Fallen Stones, we'll have to raise our threat. Okay, so here we go. We have some attacking enemies. Gollum. Let's just jump with Westfold Horse Breeder real quick against Gollum rather than our threat going up. Shadow, attacking enemy gets +1 or +3 if Bilbo's magic ring is exhausted. So he destroys Westfold Horse Breeder. And then Goblin Runner, let's defend with Frodo, 3 against 1. And there's no shadow effect. This is kind of one of the harder enemies too. This is, I think it's a Nightmare card, yeah. We haven't seen that one yet. So 3 against 2 means 1 damage, which will convert to threat using Frodo's response. We just need to destroy Goblin Runners. Glorfindel can handle that. We can attack Gollum. It doesn't say he can't be attacked, but see right here it says Gollum cannot take damage. So we can attack him, just can't damage him. And so there's just no way to get rid of him. We'll discard the shadow and refresh next round. Oh yeah, and Escort from Edoras was discarded after questing. And made a big difference. He made the difference between us, questing past that location. All right, this is good. We have Wizard's Voice. I'm really holding out for another Aether Swordsman before I play Stand and Fight. You know what I should do, actually, though, is play Imladris. I should get Imladris Stargazer. Let's play Stand and Fight and grab Imladris Stargazer. So what Stand and Fight does, let's look at it. Action, choose an ally with a printed cost of X in any player's discard pile. Put that ally into play under your control. The chosen ally can belong to any sphere of influence. So the ally is going to be Imladris Stargazer. And so we can use her action and just control what is going to come out. So now that we're not doing riddles anymore, we might as well just do her action. Didn't mean to do that. So we use her action. And, you know, I'd say probably getting a lot of Valinor is the best thing we could do. And then the next round we could get Feint and then Arwen. So probably we won't see another Aether Swordsman. Okay, we're questing here. And we just want to clear Pine Slopes. So since we have Wizard's Voice, I'm going to quest with Frodo. I just want to clear this for sure. I've got Wizard's Voice, so I'm not too worried about Gollum attacking us. So reveal one card. It's going to be what's in my pockets. When revealed, the first player must choose to answer the riddle on this card. But we can't answer riddles because we're at stage 3. So that's going to surge, though, as all treacheries do in stage 3. And we reveal Fallen Stones. And we just barely cleared Pine Slopes. So we're getting a little location locked here. All right, we want to travel to Fallen Stones, but to travel here, if we do, the travel effect says deal 3 damage to each ready character. We'd lose a few characters. Now, the first player may spend up to 3 Baggins resources to reduce the damage dealt to each character by 1 for each resource spent. So we'll spend 3 resources, and we just spared, we could have spent 2, what we would have lost Envoy of Pelargir. I'd rather not. So we spent 3, and we're still safe against that treachery that makes us discard cards, or else Gollum attacks us. Okay, so combat, Gollum gets a shadow, and we'll go ahead and play Wizard's Voice. Doom 3, cancel his attack. What was his shadow? Oh, yeah, not too big a deal, but just helps us a little bit because we had quested with Frodo. All right, refresh. Next round. And let's put Light of Valinor on Glorfindel. That'll help us a lot. 3 more willpower is good. And let's use Imladris Stargazer to see what's coming. I think next round getting Feint's good. And then Arwen the next round. All that seems okay. Let's quest. We're going to leave Frodo ready for Gollum's attack. And we'll leave 1 envoy ready. Okay, we reveal Wicked Wolf. And we made 8 progress. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that leaves play. And we'll travel to Fallen Stones. We'll spend 3 Baggins resources to travel here to keep our ready characters from being damaged. Here comes Wicked Wolf. And so we have 2 tough enemies here really attacking us. So Gollum attacks for 4. Let's defend with Frodo. 4 attack against 2 defense. Shadow, deal enemy 2 additional shadow cards for this attack. All right. Attacking enemy makes an additional attack immediately after this one. Deal a new shadow card for that effect. And then return attacking enemy to the staging area after this attack. Okay, so let's just do all the total here. He's attacking for 4. That's it, no more further boost. So 4 against 2, we use Frodo's response. And he's going to make another attack, but it says return attacking enemy to the staging area after this attack. So he will attack us, but from the staging area. He gets a shadow card. He's going to attack for 4. We're going to defend with an Envoy of Pelargir here. We can't do undefended against Gollum. Okay, so deal additional 2 cards. Okay. The player, this is a riddle, it's not a shadow, and no shadow. So he destroys this Envoy of Pelargir from staging. And actually, he went to staging, but then he comes back. Remember, Gollum engages the first player. That's just passive, so he can't really ever. He goes there and then comes right back. So he ended up actually attacking us from being engaged. I shouldn't have discarded those shadows. And now Wicked Wolf. We've not used Frodo's response. Well, we have used his response. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this undefended and just put it on Glorfindel. Hopefully he won't be boosted. Okay, so 4 damage, we'll put it on Glorfindel. And now we'll attack. We need to destroy Wicked Wolf. Beorn and Glorfindel can do that. We discard shadows and refresh and move on to... Let's see, let's go ahead and use Imladris Stargazer's action here. Okay, I was hoping maybe we'd get Aether Swordsman. Okay, I really want to try to cancel Gollum's attacks moving forward, so let's actually forget about willpower. We're just going to hang on to feints, where our threat's getting kind of high. So next round. So we'll just cancel Gollum's attack, or if another enemy comes out, for instance. Okay, let's put out Sigil Miner, and we're going to quest. And we're going to cancel Gollum's attack so we don't have to worry about undefended. So we can quest with Frodo. And we'll probably win the quest right here, I think. And we reveal Wild Wargs. It says forced. If Wild Wargs is dealt a shadow card with a riddle, it gets +2 attack. We made 16 progress. That's going to be 13 plus 8. That's going to be 21. And so we did win the quest. Well, that's it. It took us 10 rounds. And so, if Gollum continued to attack us, we would have had a little bit of an issue. But, we have Fame. We have a single copy of Wizard's Voice, which we used. Let's look on our discard pile. Stand and Fight's the best card, really, in this deck, I think, because, you're going to discard allies. And so Stand and Fight can grab you allies in a pinch, or just, it's a way to ensure you get 3 Aether Swordsmen into play, usually. Even Dwarven Tomb's good. But that's it. That is the quest. And nothing much to say. I mean, there's a few extra cards maybe we didn't see, but we pretty much saw the harder enemies. There was one that we saw as a shadow. Where's he at? We saw Wicked Wolf. This guy, Great Grey Wolf. Force. If Great Grey Wolf is dealt a shadow card with a riddle, return all creature enemies to the staging area at the end of the combat phase. But really, the wolves are tough in this deck. But hopefully we get a feint or 2. We did, and so Glorfindel and Beorn can attack and destroy Wicked Wolf. The one enemy that needs a little help is lower gate sentries. We have to have a ready attacker. And there are a lot of these effects that make you exhaust a character. There's shadow cards that do that. And so you have to kind of keep those things in mind and be ready to attack and destroy enemies as they come out. You don't want to have to deal with an enemy attacking twice if you can keep it from happening. All right, well, that's the quest. Hope you enjoyed it. So we are done with the first Hobbit Deluxe, the Nightmare versions of it. That's Overhill and Underhill. So moving back, next video is a really great quest, the 3 Trials, one of the harder ones in solo. So much fun. And so we're back in the Ringmaker cycle. As always, I appreciate you joining me. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.